So this video is part 2 of pulling handles, continuation of the video I did earlier today. I paused 1 because I didn't want it to get too long, and 2, it was quite windy, so I thought I would wait a little bit and make the second part. And I also had an idea to show you some pieces, some actual ceramic pieces. This is a beautiful piece by Kristen Kiefer, and nothing like seeing it in person, of course, but you can see how ornate she gets with her handles, even as far as like the organic bend here and then more of a 90-degree cut there. So great. A little closer. I also have a flask piece by Matt Metz, and I just wanted to show you this piece because you can see how simple, I shouldn't say simple, but how small and really truly simple, but how great that adds to a form, right, on both sides. Just too little. I wouldn't necessarily pick it up this way, but it adds such a different dimension of a form to put a little bit of a handle on your piece. So I just wanted to share with you all of that, just something to think about as we try handles. This piece too has some awesome sgraffito work on it, but I'll pull this out when we get to what sgraffito is a little bit later on in the semester. And then I have a piece that I made in undergraduate, and it's just a picture, a very decorative picture, but I just pulled this out because you can see, one, how big the handle is, but also how decorative you can get. And so I'm very into much organic and natural forms, and you can kind of see with the glaze what fun accents you can get. And then I also, it's pretty much like a double handle, right? So it's like a handle attached to another handle, and it can get pretty fun with that. And then I brought out just a mug too that I made, and that's a handle that is not pulled. It's a rolled coil, and you can see that that can make a really nice functional. My intention was for that to have 2 fingers in it and drink out of. So I'll set that aside. And then I just wanted to continue. I'll give one more demonstration of how to pull an actual handle. And right before I started this video, I did 3 more fresh handles. So you can see more, that one here is more of a circular, all the way around pulled handle. This one has more of a flat edge. You can see the difference between those two. And then I did one quick one to show you how ornate you can get to do like a double kind of handle. These are 2 pulled, 2 sections, and then joined together to make potentially, it's quite awkward on here, but you can definitely, as you attach them on actual greenware, you can play. But again, I can't stress enough how fun it is. Not only fun, but really good practice to grab a container and just play with making 10 random handles in an afternoon. Put that here just for fun. And then let me just go back to the bucket, the bowl that you want to work out of to make it not splash all over the place. And so I have another chunk of clay, and I'm just going to demonstrate how to do that. So again, you want to lubricate your hands, get them really wet, squeeze maybe around just to kind of form something to grip onto. And then use a lot of water and trying to see it dripping. So I'm just going to take my inner fingers here and just slake down using gravity to make the clay stretch and form a handle. And notice I'm kind of rotating the clay around to get it started. It's a really good exercise for the biceps. You can see, you just keep slaking the clay, not applying too much pressure, but just the right amount just to get the clay to work with gravity. As you can see, it just stretches the clay, tearing off, often in the beginning, a good inch or two. So that bottom part can get just a little awkward looking and not as fresh. I'm going to come closer and have you see, you can see that it's happening here. My fingers, I'm going to go like this now and show you how it's 1, 2, and 3 motions like that. That's a pretty flat edged handle. I'm going to try to avoid making anything extremely big right now. And then how to take this off. Once you have a good start to a handle, it's never going to be quite finished exactly from this point, but you want to just lay it down on any work surface, your table, your piece of sheetrock, and you want to have your needle tool handy. Needle tool that comes in your toolkit. And then you can just use, if you take the tool, make it horizontal, you can slide the clay and just cut it off. So I'm against the table and I'm just going to slice it onto the table. I'll bring it closer so you can see. But it's cut at an angle. You see that? I took the needle tool and I cut it at an angle. So the reason behind that is so when you go to pretend that this is a greenware form, then you can go and apply it like that. So this just kind of, that angle cuts right on there. So then you can just apply pressure. And I will do another example of this, of course, on greenware when we get to the functional part of the semester. But I think we can all imagine if this was a piece of greenware and then you could stick this on. And if this were greenware, of course, I would be slipping and scoring. So I would be scoring the greenware with my needle tool or serrated rib or fork and getting that cross hatch bite into the clay so that it has something to grip onto and stick. And then the bottom part too, you would slip and score. However, I have to say, I do not usually do that part with enough. I like my handles to really kind of blend into, especially if it's a mug. I just have gotten into that habit of liking them to blend into the form. So I usually just, with enough pressing motion, it would just kind of mesh into, you can kind of see it gets like a flat, but it just kind of, by me pressing enough of that into the clay, it bites on its own. And there are times and exceptions, of course, to all rules. So it's not, you don't have to. By saying you don't have to, I highly recommend getting into the habit of slipping and scoring because it really does give the two clay parts an ability to bind and stick and hold together much better. But that's not to say that you can't really get that just by pressing into it. And you'll see how we work with different techniques as we go along, and you'll make your coil vessel. You'll see that it's slipping and scoring to attach clay to clay isn't always 100% crucial that you do. But that, again, comes with practice. So I'll just set that there. And then lastly, I just want to pull, I did that one flat. I spoke earlier about how to rotate the clay and make a more rounded form. And I just want to show you how, if you were to do something really small, if you wanted something, sometimes people gravitate towards mugs or cups that just, you put one little finger in. So there's sometimes a need, as you saw on the flask, really itty bitty handles. So I just want to show you, it's just really a matter of using less clay. So hopefully you saw when I first started, and rather than grabbing all this clay up here and pulling down, I just kind of pulled a little bit from the start that was already forming, and then just keep stretching. And again, I can't stress enough with having the clay itself as well as your fingers lubricated with a lot of water. And you can see as I'm stretching, this is now getting pretty itty bitty baby-like. I'm gonna keep going a little bit and then I'll cut it off. This is where you have to be extremely careful, right? Too much pressure, the clay's gonna stretch, it's gonna tear. But it's a good little challenging exercise. And take that end off. Put this again down on the table to cut. Remember the needle tool, and you cut it at an angle. And then you have a nice little piece, and I'm going to just use this to show you how you could create a nice small handle. And the best thing about exploring on a glass form or a plastic form, or even on actual greenware, you can let it set up a little bit. Sometimes I don't often do it myself, but a lot of ceramic artists, they'll actually pull their handle from the greenware. So they'll start pulling it in the air, or not, they'll just roll out like a start of a coil, and then they'll apply it to a form, whatever that may be. And then in the air, say this was a vase, or say I was holding a mug, you could actually use gravity in the air to then pull exactly how you want that handle to appear. Sometimes other people will work in the way where they'll make a pulled handle, and rather than applying it right away, they'll just let it set up on their work surface. I often seen, if you're a ceramic artist that is a production potter, and you're making 40 handles or so in a day, you really want to make it go as quickly as possible to save yourself some time. In that case, just going to kind of make one little handle just to give you an idea of what setting up a side looks like. That just means you pull your handle, and then you just take your table, and then you just kind of what I was doing on that glass vase, you set it up on the table just to get it started, right? It's pretty wet now, and it's hard to, I guess I should put it this way because then you'll be able to see better. But it's a start, and it's pretty floppy right now. It's just gonna collapse and bend, but you can, again, either use a support like I showed you in the first video to stick underneath that for a while, and then come back to it and then bend it and shape it in the exact form that you want. So a lot of people will work that way, right? They'll have handle, many handles on the table, and then they'll just let them set up, and they'll come back to them when they're more dry. And that can be a really great way to then imagine coming back when it's more dry, more closer to leather hard stage, and then slip and score and attach it then, and then they'll just be at the right dry consistency where they can manipulate it and make it be exactly the style that they want. So that gives you a little bit of overview of handles. Again, try to find whatever works best for you, but I can't stress enough to practice, and make fun handles on, just to get the practice down. And then when it comes to work you really love and want to definitely save and fire, you'll be that much more prepared to make handles at that point and have great handles, because there's nothing more disappointing than having a really fabulous form and then putting a handle on it last minute, and it can kind of kill the piece, or it can make a piece too. So keep that in mind. But regardless, that's handles, and experiment and have fun.